And we're back. So there are instances where I believe there are nods to other scary films like The Shining, Jack Nicholson's eerie grin, and maybe even as recent as Smile. And then there's instances of The Exorcist and her obsession, the way her behavior is becoming increasingly crippling, her just infatuation with him. Um, and he's aware of that. Like, he has to then explain to her, like, this isn't proper, this isn't good, you shouldn't be behaving this way. And she breaks out into this very high pitched, whiny, almost like a baby, like, why? And much more threatening and aggressive. I think also too, well, he can't take it because, like, for instance, like, there's this one moment where he's already getting increasingly paranoid, not paranoid, but worried about how her behavior is getting increasingly worse. And also that he knows that she's, I didn't know that this demon knew how to lie. So it comes up with excuses as to why she practically moves in with him like overnight. And made an excuse that she's going through some form of depression because her dad, who she's estranged from, she made up a lie and said that he was dying of cancer or something like that. And so when the other coworker and supposed friend tells our Baron characters, like, dude, I did some research, she's lying about that. And he kind of just, like, he doesn't even confront her about it, he just, like, asks. And she has these moments where she's just like, no. And it's just so bizarre. There are moments of awkwardness, and then there's moments of, like, self-harm, like, and then we find out that once it, like, her behavior just gets increasingly worse, he actually calls the customer service line. And I swear it's very reminiscent of The Substance, like when Demi Moore's characters had enough of the abuse and whatever the case may be. And it's almost like you have, like, buyer's regret, and he's calling this place, and it's like some kid that's like almost like on a break and a bad attitude, and it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, it's like, yeah, and then basically letting him know that the only way to reverse or even stop her from behaving that way is that the source that created the wish needs to perish. So he has no luck there. And then he was like, but if you want to talk to her, like, really talk to the real Nikki. And I swear it gave me instances of Black Phone when, like, in that film, I mean, we're talking about two different stories, but in that film, you can have contact with the other side or spiritual world or supernatural instances on the phone. You can hear, like, she's screaming her head off because she's trapped somewhere, and he knows that. That's the thing. That's the worst part. And then there is a moment where, like, he goes to work, and she has the day off, and she waits for him to the point where she messes herself. I felt very like The Exorcist. Like, remember those cutout scenes? Like, I think that then when they had, like, the 20th or 30th anniversary, I forget how many years now it's been since they did The Exorcist, there were these cuts, I guess the director's cut version of things that they felt that audiences couldn't ingest properly because it was already a pretty gruesome film, where, she's walking like almost like a spider. There are instances of that. She really becomes increasingly scary. Her moments he's asleep and she's walking funny and really fast, and just watching him sleep, which makes him feel very vulnerable and scared. When he goes to work, she tries to trap him because she's off. So she like puts duct tape, like thousands and thousands of layers of duct tape, so he won't leave. And then when he leaves, he does manage to leave. She messes herself when he comes back. And the instances when she does hurt herself, I think it is the actual Nikki just not knowing how to get out of this situation, so she would rather just be done with the vessel of her body. Even the romantic scene, the sex scene that they have in the film is not a nice, pleasant scene. It's almost like you could see that the spell has convinced him that, yeah, she's like into it, but her body is not receptive. When he's not looking at her, it's, I don't know if it's genuinely her, and she's just, it is so many layers of complication and nuances that are thrown in this film that you're like thrown for a loop. So right before we have the big climactic scene, we find out that this spell version of her controls majority of her thinking, her movements, everything. But it sleeps sometimes. So very reminiscent like The Exorcist. And the real Nikki in sleep talking, I think, is able to convey a message to our protagonist of Baron, and she's just like, just just off me, like I'd rather not be alive and not deal with this. So instead of him, like, he could put an end to all of this crazy psychotic behaviors. I hate to say it, but yes, he could put an end to it. Not that that's the best way. And now, again, we don't know if we're really working with a reality-based kind of film. But she tells him how to, like, find a better solution so that she could be at peace. And he's like, well, what's so bad about being with me? Again, his ego kicked in. So this is what I'm saying. Like, he's not the sweet little, like, character. He's the villain here. And she kind of, like, gives it right back to him. It's like, I've never been with you. Because whatever you're doing with my body, that's not me. It goes through so many. I can't, because I'll keep doing this and I'll just tell the whole movie and we'll be here like 15 minutes worth of a review. But it's so good. It is so good. And then towards the end, like, something really goes bad. I will not ruin that part for you. And then he can't take it anymore. So he tries to go back to the shop where he bought that thing. He buys another one, or he's desperate. He's like, he yells at another person that works there that has like a major attitude. And it's like, like, you made your bed, bro, now lay in it. So he tries to go to his supposed friend to make the wish, which he also found out that little Miss Nikki and him were hooking up. Like, they were like best buddies in a way, for only like temporary relief. So she's not the person that he thought it was, and his friend wasn't either. And instead of helping him out and wishing for things to go back to normal, he wishes for a bunch of money, $1 billion. So his only solution is to off himself. And then in the middle of him doing that, he still tries to go back and not do it. And then, but he didn't realize that he left one of the little wish willows on the coffee table. And she, the spell version of her, wished that he loved her as much as she loved him. And so he ingests a bunch of stuff like the cat, and we bookend here. And then he starts dying. So as he dies, it breaks her from the spell. And then she finally realizes what has gone on, and now she has to live with that.